G'day everyone, 5 minutes with Fitzy. Hello Peter Fitzsimons.
James Bracey, one of the greats. Sitting in the chair, it's one of the heirs of Ken Sutcliffe. The great Kenny Sutcliffe. Why don't we just offer a civilian salute to Ken Sutcliffe for no good reason?
Because we love
Kenny,
him.
love Kenny.
Big shoes to fill these ones. Okay, let's get into it.
Yep.
There's got a couple of issues I want to hit with you today. Rugby union, your sport, we know it's been in crisis. There's one word for it this year. They're slowly trying to get themselves out of the quagmire, and we're talking about rejigging the competition and competitions to take to market. Because broadcast dollars are key these days. We're talking an Aussie competition, we're talking this sort of Champions League style, Australia, New Zealand best of.
Yes.
A state of origin style competition.
And the short
between
answer
the
is
states.
the contours, the exact contours of what it's going to look like are not clear. But what we do know is this, that the competition as it is at the moment is just dead.
And hard to keep track of. I've got to say, I found a lot of this detail very hard to keep track of when I was reading it too.
But what we do know is things have got to change. We also know that the state of origin in rugby league has been a phenomenal success for .3 carry 1 subtract 2 nigh on 40 years. And when that started, I mean, it really hasn't gone off in standard since. It's absorbing television. So if you apply that to rugby union, because much the same dynamics apply that so many great Queensland players, born and bred Queenslanders, end playing up in other provinces, other states.
So it doesn't really work.
Well, it hasn't.
At the moment when New South Wales and Queensland
the problem, the traditional problem has been if you've got, let's say, 40 crackerjack players in Australia and you spread them among two teams, New South Wales and Queensland, which is the way it used to be, you'd get a very high standard and you put them together and you get the Wallabies. The theory was that if you spread them around 5 states, you get 5 not so, not teams that are not strong enough to generate the intensity to produce great Wallabies. But, I mean, it's very complex because the aim of the game is not necessarily just to produce a Wallaby side. The aim of the game is to get people to have the joy of rugby, of running into each other. But, so, what we do know is in the new competition, the idea, the primary idea of having a homegrown Australian state of origin rugby union is a beauty. The other thing that we get out of this is South Africa seems to be drifting further away. And that's, for me, that's good.
Because it means not having to watch matches at 1 in the morning.
That's right. And also, we don't know these people. We don't, when I look at the South African provinces, what, who, what, when, and with the Springboks, there's something in me. Just as in the first ball of an Ashes test, if I see an Australian fast bowler charging in, and I like to see an English fast bowler just blinking at the Gabba. There's something in me which goes, right, I win this, let's watch this. Same thing for me with Wallabies versus All Blacks, I'm into it. And to a certain extent, New South Wales versus Waikato or whatever, I'm into it because it's in my blood. Whereas versus South African provinces, I'd like to see it every now and then, but it's been too often.
What's the most valuable commodity that rugby union has at the moment? Is it a national competition? Is it club rugby? Is it the Wallabies?
The last bastion is the Wallabies. I mean, like the Wallabies is what generates the money, and it's club rugby generates the passion. It's the people that turn up to Manly Oval on a Saturday afternoon to see Manly, the Marlins play against Warringah Rats. That is the absolute heartland of rugby, and that needs to keep growing. And what's been left out, and the Wallabies, there are still, despite the grim times when men in green and gold jerseys run out to take on the All Blacks, there'll be an audience and they'll pay to watch it. And what's left out in the middle is the Waratahs and the rest. I don't know who they're
selling to the highest bidder here. The more you read, they're breaking it all up. Just go, right, that over there, that over there, that over there. Go for your lives, take what you want, but pay us big dollars. When you and Margot put your hand up for your house, you'll recall, and when Lisa and I put my hand up for our house, there were 30 people in the building. It's not like that. This is one or two, maybe Foxtel, maybe Fox Sports, maybe Optus, maybe. So if you had the money to buy anything that rugby was offering at the moment, what would you buy?
You'd absolutely buy Wallabies. That's what will generate the money, because where the money is in rugby union, it's in England, it's in France, and there's growing money out of Asia, and there's growing money out of America. And the Wallabies even though times are grim, they remain a famous, I hate to use the word, but it's the truth, they're a famous brand.
But for the Wallabies to be strong, you need whatever domestic competition you've got going on, and the club rugby to be going strong as well. Let's get on to one other issue. The Sydney Opera House. Never did I have any idea that the little sails that are in the Sydney Kings logo were actually costing them $1,000 a year. But now we're told the Sydney Opera House Trust wants 50 grand a year, and all of a sudden the City Kings are like,
And it's
We're out.
very easy just to say, you blokes are kidding, everybody owns this. As it happens, I'm writing a book on the Opera House at the moment.
Right.
And you and I are talking at a time. So the key critic is John Barilaro, who's the Deputy Premier.
Hammered them.
There was a brilliant piece written about him in the press the other day. As a matter of fact, I wrote it. Every time there's a stink, John Barilaro, Deputy Premier of New South Wales, is right in the middle of it.
He loves it.
So it's very well for him to say, this is ridiculous, everybody owns the Opera House, you can stamp it on anything you like, broadly is what he's saying. Hang on, would you be the same Deputy Premier Barilaro who's recently said, $800 million for 4 or 5 new stadiums for the rugby? No problem, taxpayers, off you go. You know, these businesses, rugby league is a business, okay? Do you agree with that? It pays no tax. Do you agree with that? You want new stadiums, you bloody well pay for them, okay? It's not
Right,
rocket science.
so
So John Barilaro,
Yes.
who on one hand is saying, here's $800 million of taxpayer money, poor little Opera House, poor the theatrical community, the dramatic community, the best they can get is $200 million out of the federal government, you know, $800 million from the state. Where is the state? So if the Opera House says, we need some oxygen, we need some money, can we get some money for our image? It's not unreasonable.
50 grand
Yeah.
in this climate?
But they've got the theatre. You're a rugby league man. I like watching rugby league too. I'm not frequently accused of hating rugby league. I don't hate rugby league. I like watching rugby league. But you're a rugby league guy. Can you see any money going the theatrical community's way, the dramatic community? You don't blink when $800 million of taxpayer money is put to them. Is it reasonable, do you reckon, that the people in the singing, the drama, the Sydney Symphony Orchestra, that they also make a quid?
But if you represent the city, that's part of the imagery of the city.
But do you not take the point that at times you're saying in these grim times, you know, we can't afford to ask 50k for the image of the Opera House, but you don't blink when $800 million is put towards 4 stadiums. Gotcha. Thank you. Done.
Did you? It's your 5 minutes. Whatever.